Welcome. In this Python tutorial I'm going to teach you guys how to make a simple math quiz. For example, something like this. So go all, how many rounds do you want to play? It's just 2 rounds, 18 times 9, let's say, that's 2, 17 minus 1, that's obviously 16. Would you like another question? We'll go no for this one. So it also provides the history and thank you for playing, and then it ends off the go. So here's how you can do that. Okay, first we'll start this off by creating the question. So to do this, first we're going to import random. This is basically just so we can use random and we can choose random numbers for the questions. And then for number 1, we'll just create a variable called number1, and we'll do that a random.randrange and do 1 to 20. Okay, so how this works is first it imports random, and then it creates this variable and it sets that variable to random.randrange 1 to 20. And what this line of code means right here is it means it's going to choose a random number between 1 to 20. So if we change this to say, let's say 1 to 100, it's going to choose a random number to 1 to 100. So if we go print number 1, for example, and we run that, that's just going to give us 57, but then if we go 1 to 20, that'll give us a random number of 14. So that just gives us a random number. Because we're doing this twice, we're just basically going to need number 2, and that's just going to be the same line of code. So then .randrange 120. So once we've got these two, we want to have the question. We want to have the the addition, the subtraction, whatever. So we're going to go question type equals, and now we're going to want to create all the possible question types. So for that we'll just go question types, and then we'll go equals. So this one will be addition. Nope, that's not what I meant to do. This one will be division. This one will be subtraction. And this one will be multiplication. And then from here, we want to do random dot choice question types. And we'll change this one to question choice because later on we'll get to choose what that is. What this line does is it chooses a random string from these question types, so it can choose any one of these strings, and then it'll have a question choice. So then what we want to do is we want to check what subtraction, multiplication, whatever it's using. So to do that, we can just do if question choice equals addition. Then we can do number 1 plus number 2, and we also want to create a new variable, which I completely forgot about, and we'll call this correct answer. Sorry, correct answer equals number 1 plus number 2, and then we'll do else if. So by making a else if, it checks whether or not question choice, which is this variable right here, it checks if its random choice is the addition, and if it's not the addition, it goes to the next line, which is else if it equals division. We can do correct answer equals number 1 divided by number 2. I can do question choice equals subtraction, correct answer equals number 1 minus number 2, and last one. Now this character right here, this is what is used in coding for multiplication, because multiplication you can't just use x, because that just doesn't make any sense. Like if you just put an x there, that doesn't count as anything. So you want to do that character, which for me is Shift 8 on my keyboard, and that gives me that. Okay, so now all these are out, let's test that. Let's make sure that this works. So we'll go print, and then we'll put in these things, this and this. Then we want to do dot format, and then we want to go number one, not number, you want to go question choice, and then number two, and we'll run that, see what that does. 14 times 3, so that looks like it's working currently. So how this works basically is it runs all this code, because this is on the margin, and it runs through and it gets all the question types. It creates these two variables which randomly choose between 1 and 20, and then it creates a new variable of question choice which randomly chooses between the possible question types. Then it goes down to it checks if the question choice, like what the question choice is. Is it addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, you know, all that, and then it does the calculations. And then this print down here, with these right here, this is basically saying that it'll put this thing in here right into there. So if you use dot format after putting two quotation marks in between around these two things here, then this will relate to the first one, this relates to the second one, and this relates to the third one. So if we were to like switch this around and say this one's number 1 and this one's number 2, and then we run that, this is really number 2 and this is really number 1. It's just switched around. So yeah, so that just relates to that, and that's how that works. But if we wanted to get the user answer, we would go user underscore answer equals input. So this is creating another new variable, and input basically means it is going to ask whatever is inside these quotation marks. So it'll display this text, and then it'll give you a little cursor. So you'll notice here that it just stops immediately. But now, if we do that, it gives me a little cursor, and I'm able to actually type. So that's different. And basically that means that whatever you type, and then once you click enter, that gets set to what this variable is. So this variable gets set to whatever you've typed in. So we can do here, so we can do the input what is, and then using the printing thing that we learned before, what is this by this by this, and then using dot format we can go what is number 1, and then we can do question choice, and then number 2, and we can go put a question mark here. And one more thing, if we put /n, this means a new line. So if we go here, now our cursor is down here, but if we remove this and then we start it again, just clear it real quick, we start it again, then it's on the same line. So make sure to put /n, because that just looks better, and it's a simple thing to do. And then after that, so now we've got that 5 times 7, we can go 10, you know, nothing happens. Why doesn't this happen? Well, what we've got to do is we've got to check if the answer that the user is given is the correct answer. So to do that, we're going to do another if statement. So it's like the other one, but this time we want to check if the correct answer is equal to user answer. Then we want to print, yay, you got it right. Oh, right. I can spell. And there we go. And then we'll click play. What is 1 times 8? That is 8. And why did that not work? Okay, after a little bit of playing around, I just realized that I forgot to do this. So you want to make this a float. So before, the user answer was being stored as an integer. Now an integer can only be stored in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whereas if you go float, it can go 1.025, 1.05. You know, it can do stuff like that. So we make sure to store it as a float, because if you see here, what is 13 divided by 6, and I made it print the correct answer. It's 0.8125. It needs to check that, and the correct answer here can be a because it's getting multiplied. It's automatically a float because it's adding between two numbers. So just make sure that you add this float in front of this, because otherwise it may not work. So with that added, if we run this now, 3 minus 2, that's obviously 1. Yeah, you got it right. So now we know we got it right. So now though, what else do we want to add? Well, what happens if you get it wrong? So you want to do an else statement. And for an else statement, you want to... Else statement means if this isn't true, so if correct answer does not equal user answer, then it's going to run this code. So we'll go else print, and then we'll go, let's say, that's not good, you got it wrong. And that's not good, you got it wrong, and then we'll go, the correct answer was, and then we'll go dot format again, it's popping up one more time, and you want to go correct answer. So now, if we go like this, and then we go 12, that's not good, the correct answer was 11. So now that works. So now we know if you get the correct answer, it works. If you get the wrong answer, it also works, because it says that the correct answer was 12, and it just ends the code there. Now, it ends the code there, so what do you do if you want the code to repeat? What if you don't want it to run a singular time? So, to do this, we're going to make this a function. So, we're going to call this function 1 underscore question, and then we put this in brackets, and we tab everything up. So, this def, it basically means it's defining one function, and now something that you might notice is if we run this code, nothing happens. Let's clear it so then you can see it a bit better. Run it, nothing happens. That's because we've got to call one question. If we don't call one question, then it's not going to run. So then we run it again. Oh, sorry. Make sure I put the brackets at the end. If we run it now it asks one question. So then we can go 12. Yeah, you got it right. Okay, awesome. So that's good, but it still stops when it ends. So how are we going to do that? Well, what we want to do is we want to ask playing. Let's just go playing amount. Oh no, sorry. We'll go question amount, and then again we're going to do the input. So we're asking the user what they want. We're asking the user. And we're going to go, how many questions do you want? And then, something new that we haven't used yet, we're going to use a for loop. So we're going to go for I in question amount. Then we're going to tab one question up, and then it's going to be in the for loop. So now, if we clear this, and we run it. How many questions do you want? Let's go 2 questions. 9 plus 6, 12. That's not good. The correct answer was 15. That is not right for some reason. Oopsie, silly me. Currently this only works if we make it a float. So if we go 18, then it works and all that. But if we don't, then it doesn't work. So a simple fix to that, which I should have done in the first place, is making this an integer. And then also making here for I in range question amount 1 question. So now if I go like 2 and then I go da 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 da, it does it twice. So what this basically does is it grabs an input of how many questions that the player wants, and then it converts it to an integer. So because of how it just works, it creates it a float. But this needs it to be an integer to use the I in range. So what this does is every time that it runs through once, then it adds 1 to the I, and it basically just goes through until it reaches the number that is in question amount. Okay, so we may as well add the amount of correct answers that you have. So for this we're going to create a global variable. So we're going to go up here and we're going to go correct answers. And then in here, we're going to want to go global and question types because we want to add the array, and then we're going to go correct answers. And make sure to set this to 0 so then it starts on 0 whenever you run the program. So then you want to go down here to where it goes, you got it right, then you want to go correct answer answers plus equals 1. So what this means is what this means is that for every time that this runs, it adds 1 onto correct answers. So if I just for an example just adds on. So for an example, I is starting at 0 and we add 1 to I, and then we print what I is. So as you can see, the numbers are increasing incredibly fast. Okay, so that means now that we can go after after all of this is done. So after it's finished going over the question amount every single time, we can go print thank you for playing, and then we can go new line. Your total score was, and then we can do this, and then we can go dot format, and then again we can go question. We can go correct answers. So now that means if we go like this, and we go 2 questions, and we go 12, and then we go 18, your total score was 1. So that means you got 1 right, and it shows you that you got 1 right. So that's basic functionality. Okay, thank you guys so very much for watching. This is only episode 1 of, I don't know, possibly 3, I'm thinking it looks like it's going to be turning out into. This is what the finished code looks like, basically. But just remember, just keep going, you know, keep following along with this tutorial, because you can actually make a decently well finished project. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!